Welcome to football today, August 14th, 2024. And we're live from Foxborough, Massachusetts, live from Justin's hotel room. Justin, we've been at the Patriots joint practices with the Philadelphia Eagles 2 days. We went to the Patriots by themselves one day, and then the Eagles came to town. A lot of stuff to talk about. Honestly, next year, we got a little taste of going to other teams' joint practices. Mm-hmm. I want to go to every single joint practice next year.
Fun,
it is like the most fun time to cover football. You're just out there in the sun. The Patriots do it in a very different way than any other team. They do no tickets, so the place got filled up. Right? They don't even do security. They're just like they just let you walk in, backpack or nothing.
An alarm went off this morning. I heard a security person go, "Oh," and nobody was stopped.
Yeah, out in the sun, no shade. It really is beautiful football out there. So we're going to get into all of it.
Gerard Mayo making guys run laps.
Yeah. So there was a lot. You learned. I think you learned about it because you're only looking at the starters for the most part. Mm-hmm. But you can kind of get an idea of what a team's trying to do and what they're good at and what they struggle at in these practices. Now, you don't want to overreact to one practice, but I think you get a good idea of it. Where do you want to start, with the Patriots or the Eagles?
Let's start with the Patriots, since we saw 2 days of them practice. We saw Monday where it was the Pats alone, and then Tuesday the Philadelphia Eagles come in, and we'll touch on the Eagles a little bit later. But we saw the Pats for 2 days. Jacoby Brissett basically got every single rep with the ones, yes. And then Drake May every single rep with the twos. We came in a little frustrated, being like, I wonder how much they're going to play Drake May, and maybe they didn't play Drake May enough. Drake May gets a lot of snaps, but I'm still leaving Foxborough being like, I want to see more of Drake May.
So I leave Foxborough tomorrow feeling worse about the Patriots' offense and better about their defense.
Yes. Even though they did move the ball pretty well against the Eagles towards the second half practice.
Yeah, at times. It's just, with the Patriots offense, you look at it on paper and like, this is not good. But there is some like elements of it too that you can kind of talk yourself into. Like, I really like Pop Douglas, who we'll talk about. I like Javon Baker, the rookie. Jalen Polk's a solid player. Kendrick Bourne hasn't been out there. Kendrick Bourne and Hunter Henry, both dealing with injury, weren't out there. Those are two key pieces to them. But I just think the negatives probably have showed up more than the positives with this offense. And the main thing being the offensive line. This is an offensive line that, to me, is really, really going to struggle. They're young and they just don't have good, they just don't have a good depth chart when you go across it. And there's certain guys that aren't out there either. But I'm also not inspired by the Alex Van Pelt offensive coaching addition here, right? And we've even listened to a little bit of Sports Talk Radio, which shouldn't change your mind on anything. But I think the feelings are similar. It just, with Brissett, it probably will work a little better because Brissett, did play well in Alex Van Pelt's offense a couple of years ago in Cleveland, but it just doesn't feel like it fits Drake May. And when you watch Drake May, it just feels like everything is getting out a little late. They're not pushing the ball down the field a lot. It's like kind of simplistic passing concepts. There feels like there's no wow in this offense, or even any room to have a wow factor besides like a contested catch up the sideline by Javon Baker or somebody else.
Or Jalen Polk, yeah. So, and I will say, no matter how much we kind of like we sneaky like the Patriots wide receivers. No matter how much Javon Baker maybe can evolve into a guy that's downfield, Pop Douglas does literally pop off the screen at times.
Oh, he's going to have 100 catches this year.
I will say, Bobby, there still isn't that threat in this offense that could really challenge downfield, though. So
no.
that is the rebuttal, but that's not an excuse of why you shouldn't be running concepts to try and challenge.
And they also don't have so again, it might be understandable from the offensive coordinator standpoint because, like I said, the offensive line, you don't have that receiver who's you're just throw it to type of guy. And May doesn't look like he's someone that's going to come in here and fix everything by elevating like crazy year one. Like, he looks like he's not feeling super confident. But, Brissett looks like worse in these camp practices than what we've come to know for him the last few years.
And I'm not worried about Jacoby Brissett. I'm not having an evaluation off of him based off of 2 practices. But a lot of throws that are inaccurate, sailing above guys' heads. But then also you see flashes of, this is Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett is what Jacoby Brissett is, and that's the experience that you're going to get this year with the New England Patriots. It honestly is just a matter of when do the Patriots feel like Drake May is ready, and through these 2 days, I haven't gotten the indication that the Patriots feel like they want to put Drake May in that driver's seat yet.
No, hopefully he plays a lot in this preseason game because he needs the snaps. But like you said, when we talk about the Patriots on our team TPP for them, it's like I think Jacoby Brissett should be the starter, particularly because of the offensive situation that we're talking about. Like it's not a great environment for a young quarterback to come in and develop. But I said I wouldn't slam that door shut. I would let Drake May be able to pry that door open. And if he had an amazing camp, amazing preseason,
right.
I haven't gotten that at all. Like if anything, it's just late. Even some he's mostly accurate, but there has been some inaccurate passes. Right, almost threw an interception to Christian Gonzalez yesterday on a pass that should have been just an easy throw to Pop Douglas. It goes left, and that could have been intercepted by Gonzalez. So it's just offensively, they look like they may have some issues. Right, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. had an interception on Brissett.
They're going to be a conservative offense. I mean, bottom line,
they're going to run the ball a ton. Like they're going to rely on Ramondre Stevenson being that offense.
They're going to run screens. They're going to check it down to the running back. They're going to check it down to Antonio Gibson. They're going to check it down to Ramondre Stevenson. That's what this offense has been. Hunter Henry is going to collect a lot of catches. Austin Hooper did look in his absence, made some eye dropping wowza catches during the Eagles joint practice too.
He looks good and in shape for Hooper.
Yeah.
And Hunter Henry basically was the Patriots red zone offense last year. He wasn't out there. Kendrick Bourne wasn't practicing. So again, that's part of it.
But they did move the ball. I mean, for the second half of the practice that we saw on what's today? Today's Tuesday.
Drake May did look pretty solid on the second day.
Yeah, for sure. But even with just the starters for a second, because Drake May got sacked left and right towards the latter part of practice. I mean, just every play was just getting sacked. Now they don't call these plays dead. They did with the Eagles, though. We'll talk about that. The Patriots starting offense did start to move the ball pretty well, though. It was just a matter of can they punch the ball inside the red zone? And I do think that may be an issue for them, since Hunter Henry was out. Who is going to be that guy on the Patriots offense that when they get down to, the green zone, the money zone, the area where you make your money, who's going to be that guy that they're going to go to that's going to score touchdowns for them? To be seen. But just walking away from this, feeling better. I am feeling a little bit better about the Patriots offense as a whole because they didn't look inept against the Philadelphia Eagles, especially that starting offensive line where the second team O-line looked bad. But I'm concerned about just this is going to be an inevitably very conservative offense that will probably drive Patriots fans crazy if they're looking for more explosivity.
Well, especially when Pop Douglas is going to be their leading target getter, and I love he's one of my breakout candidates when we did our breakout player podcast.
He's going to have a low average depth of target.
Exactly. So when he's a slot-ish type of receiver, he can play outside, but he plays a good amount in the slot. Well, then you're going to get a lot of pre-planned forced throws to him, and that's not going to be much down the field. Hunter Henry's not someone who's going to be really stretching down the field, and then it's just who are those guys? Now, Javon Baker, someone we, or at least I really liked in this draft process. He does make some fun plays, but he's not really working with the starters, and he does have a ways to go. He doesn't separate the way that you'd want early in the snap, but I do think he'll have some type of role when they do want to push the ball down the field because he can make some nice plays, and it feels like if there's anyone that Drake May has a connection with so far in this camp, it is Javon Baker.
Yeah, I feel like they're flirting Baker with the ones where I think Brissett and Baker had even a nice catch during Tuesday's practice as well. The throw of the joint practice for both teams was Drake May to Javon Baker on the sideline. Like that was just the throw of team periods at least. So Baker has the potential to maybe be downfield. Jalen Polk had a nice slot fade with the first team today, which hey, he did that at Washington like that.
He also had one from Joe Milton on the first day we were here too.
Yeah, so I mean, Jalen Polk, maybe they have that kind of potential, but again, we're talking about throws that are going to be contested, and Polka's going to need to contort his body, maybe some back shoulder stuff. Javon Baker's going to need to make a wild play on the sideline, and that's kind of like what the Patriots are looking at to be explosive, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's kind of just what they have right now, and they're going to have to lean into it.
Defensively, I walk away way more impressed, because I've been someone who's loved the Patriots defenses throughout the years, and even the last year's battles the Patriots have loved watching their defense because they just get the most out of every guy on the team, and they return most of those guys. Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez coming off injury, so the natural thought is like, oh, they were good last year, they'll be even better. But I was worried that with Gerard May, it was time to move on from Belichick.
But you're losing Bill Belichick.
You're losing the greatest defensive mind of all time. No matter how bad they had fumbled the draft and the management of the offense the last couple of years, you are losing the greatest defensive mind of all time. And this is a team that had a high blitz rate last year. I believe they were top 5, and I don't have the numbers right in front of me. I can look up the TPP. But their blitzes get home. And it actually made me the Eagles joint practice made me feel better about the Patriots offense, because day one we're like, they can't pick up the fucking blitz at all. Mm-hmm. You have free rushers coming way too often. And then the Eagles offensive line struggled with it, honestly, more so. And you're like, okay, they're going to be an aggressive team. They've got the coverage guys. They've got the run defense. I mean, Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar were running free. They're safeties for blitzes. Guys were just winning. Like Deatrick Wise just fucking put Lane Johnson, ended Lane Johnson's practice, put him on his ass, and they said, you're done for the day, Lane Johnson, after that. Like, all of their guys up front were just balling, whether it's, Devon Godchow, I think I got that, pronouncing that right, Wise, Anthony Jennings was even making some plays as a pass rusher. Their linebackers of Bentley and Tavai were playing well. I come away really confident in this defense, where I was worried that people may have been a little overconfident in it going into this season.
And this was all without Christian Barmore, by the way, too.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know when or if Barmore comes back, but he's a huge piece for that defense too.
He was out there apparently, which is good. You mentioned Gotcha, which I'm glad you did. I'm sorry for not pronouncing that right. Number 92. I thought that was Barmore. I was like, that's how much he was kind of dominating dudes. He was good in 1v1s. He was physical. He was bringing it in team periods as well. We're Giants fans. People know that.
Yeah, Barmore was out there. I don't think he was practicing.
No, he was not out there.
Okay,
but it was not. The title of that article is "His presence was a welcome sight," which apparently it was. So good, he's out there, and hopefully he's getting close.
You feel great about that front seven.
Oh,
they stop the run well. They get after the pass rusher, and Gerard Mayo and that defense are dialing up blitzes and again, this is without game planning, right? These are kind of your standard blitzes that you run in practice. You're not game planning like, this is the way the Eagles set their protection versus this look. All right, let's do this. No, these are just standard blitzes that they're running, and they're consistently getting home. And the Patriots often struggled with it the first day we were there, and then with the Eagles joint practice, which we'll talk about in the Eagles part, like they were getting there, and they were getting there quick, and with just guys up front winning. I feel really good about this defense. The secondary, I thought, looked pretty good, even though they gave up a lot to A.J. Brown in the short area part of the field. A guy like Azizi Hearn, number 42, who's playing in the nickel, impressed with him. Christian Gonzalez did pretty damn well. Alex Austin, who was, I guess, is their starting corner outside of Gonzalez, unless someone else is there and is out. I didn't see Jonathan Jones out there. He looked like he struggled, but Jonathan Jones should be the starter there. I don't know if he was out or what.
Oh, hello, vacuum cleaner.
Every time we record in this hotel, they start vacuuming next to each other, next
Wonderful.
to us.
It's 4:30 in the afternoon. Why are we vacuuming? Yeah, man, and I want to talk about Jabril Peppers too, because that's where that's the whole point of when I started.
Oh, Peppers is nuts.
We're Giants fans, but I want to talk about Gerard Mayo for a second. Our guy Taylor Kyles tweeted this out, and it made the rounds of Gerard Mayo says he tells players if a starter gets into a fight in a joint practice, they'll play the whole preseason game. And if they aren't a starter, they won't play at all. So Gerard Mayo has run a very, very interesting practice over the last 2 days. So even though feel better, like I feel really good about the Patriots defense. Just we know that they got talent. I'm walking away feeling a little bit better about their offense, but just knowing how conservative they're going to be. But overall, I did not love. Hey, as a Giants fan, I've seen a lot of different practices. I've seen a lot of different practices from different coaches. We've even gone to see the Commanders-Jets practice. We came here. We saw how 2 different practices were kind of run a little bit. I am not overly impressed with how Gerard Mayo has run his practices over the last couple of days. It does not feel like efficiency is being utilized. There is a lot of standing around. O-line and D-line, they're not doing a ton in individuals with each other. Meanwhile, the Philadelphia Eagles, they had their offensive linemen working for probably almost an hour on just picking up stunts and twists, and there's 2 groups going at the same time. And while you have the Eagles O-line that's doing that and constantly communicating with each other, you have the Patriots O-line that are chatting with each other. So I don't know. I'm not walking away impressed with Gerard Mayo's ability to, and this is probably nitpicking, and if you're a Patriots fan, you maybe fucking hate that I'm saying this, but that was a noteworthy point where I'm not walking away loving how Gerard Mayo is running his practice and kind of running the ship so far.
What do you think about making them run around the goalpost when they have a penalty on defense?
It got to a point where they did it once, Bobby, and this was on Monday. There was no running laps during the joint practice today. I feel like that would have been kind of a little humiliating for the Patriots while the Eagles are just like, what are these guys doing? It got to a point where they did it once. Okay. They did it twice. Okay. Once they did it for the 3rd time, the Patriots defense was also having a really good day against the Patriots offense on Monday. Once it got to the 3rd time, I'm like, now we're just wasting time. Now 6 minutes have gone off the board of practice time, valuable practice time that you need in the NFL. Like, it's enough.
I go back and forth because I someone that likes it. If it doesn't bother the players, then it doesn't bother me.
But it comes to a point where it is a time thing. But if they start,
that's true. I mean,
there's already enough standing around in that practice,
and it makes it hard to practice when you're dog ass tired too. I go back and forth on that because I liked some of that. And it's not like they're conditioning like they used to in practices as well. And
no, they don't really condition at all.
But I agree. I don't like the pace. And like you said, like use down. Even if you're not going to go full speed, right? Like go through stuff. Go through like stunt looks. Where like you said, the Eagles' offensive line is not practicing going hard. They're just kind of like half speed going through stunt looks.
Even if it's a walkthrough.
While the Patriots' offensive line and defensive line is just standing around in a circle, right? Just waiting for the next period. Like even just line up and start going through different, how you block in the run versus different fronts. I could see some of that.
Even if you utilize the trash cans, which we've seen plenty of organizations. All right, let's put the trash cans up and go through different calls or sets or whatever. I don't care. Just it bothered me. I was starting to keep time of how often they were standing around and not doing anything. It bothered me a lot.
To pick up the vibes on Patriots, I know Matthew Judon, there was like this video that came out and he's unhappy about his contract. Whatever happened, I thought he was the most up, besides Jabril Peppers. Yeah. Was like the most upbeat, high-spirited guy on that defense, right?
He's gonna have a good year.
When they do the run around the pole, he's the first guy he was the first guy doing it. He's high-fiving the fans in the end zone while he does it, being first. Even little stuff like, they're 11 on 11. They run the ball to Saquon Barkley, and typically in practice, the running back usually tries to finish the play, right? Even though they're not tackling. Well, Saquon's like half jogging to the end zone, and Matthew Judon says, no, I'm not going to let you do that. Runs up behind, punches the ball out. Obviously, that's not something that would happen. But I like that Matthew Judon's there and engaged where, a couple weeks ago, people probably would have thought it would have been the exact opposite. So he was good out there. O'Shane Ximenez, our guy, was kind of balling on the second team, which, we've seen a lot of him in Giants blue and hadn't seen anything like what we'd seen out of him in camp.
Former third-round pick.
Drew Wilkins, the Giants outside linebacker coach, came over there with him too. So some good, like I said, the offense, you kind of feel like, okay, the worries about it are still there. The defense, you're like, all right, I think they're gonna be set on this defense with the Patriots.
Let's talk about Jabril Peppers, because Jabril Peppers had some fun quotes after practice too of, hey, they had some nice plays in 1v1 that's kind of set up for the offense to succeed, but Jabril Peppers said, we brought the physicality, we brought the pop. The Eagles' offense didn't really work into the red zone. If they were just scrimmaging, Bobby, they were going first down, second down, third down. the Eagles offense didn't really even sustain like a full drive getting into the Patriots red zone for an opportunity to score a touchdown. And the vibes on that defense seem high, where they seem like they're a group that plays together. They seem like they're a group that wants to play for each other. There was a lot of energy on that Patriots sideline. The Patriots offense was on the far field, so I couldn't really hear and sense the energy over there, even though it seems to be a little more disorganized versus the defense seems to have their shit together. And it's very apparent by seeing how the Pats just dominated today's practice and what we're expecting to be a pretty good and pretty decent Eagles offense. But dude, Pep just, I miss him. Like I wish every single, not even just speaking as a Giants fan that had Pep on the team, but I wish that every single NFL team had a guy like Jabril Peppers on there, where dude, dress is cool, dress is fun. He was wearing like all red yesterday. Guy's athletic as hell. He brings the energy every practice. He's physical. He pops guys. He can line up anywhere. He can do anything. He can be anything that you want to be. He seems like he's a leader. He knows what's going on. He was even directing some guys on where to line up today. So Jabril Peppers is a really good, well-rounded football player. He had a good practice today. And I wish every NFL team had a guy like him. And I'm glad the Patriots do. You got a good one.
You know why he has so much energy?
Oh, I'll tell you why. Because of Mountain Dew, baby. You know what we all need to do. Get off our ass. Get off your ass. And I'm going to punch this Mountain Dew bottle because that's how excited I am that they're partnering. Whoa! I was going to do it.
I stole your lightning.
My idea? My great idea of punching Mountain Dew.
Thunder.
The fighting Mountain Dews. Well, now I can't have it on the table anymore.
You can punch this water because we don't like water.
Nope, get it out. Get it out, pop, with bold flavors and a refreshing citrus kick. Mountain Dew will get you off your ass, feeling like you're on an actual mountain. I love my Mountain Dew when it comes to game days at 8 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, a little bit of an unconventional time. Get over it. 8 a.m., I'm at MetLife Stadium, and the first thing that I'm having to start off my day is a Mountain Dew. This sponsorship and this partnership, I don't need to change my game day routine because I'm already doing it, and it's kind of a dream come true. So thank you to Mountain Dew, and let Mountain Dew know that you love JM Football. Let them know that you love us, and let them know that you're going to be drinking the Dew with us this year. The mountain is calling. You should answer. Grab your friends. Grab an ice-cold Mountain Dew wherever refreshing beverages are sold, mountains. And do the Dew. You'll be glad you did.
You'll be glad you did.
Thank you, Mountain Dew.
You'll be glad you do.
You'll be glad you do.
How about that?
The Dew.
We changed that shit for them. All right.
Eagles.
We'll start with the offense. I just want to read some stats because I was focusing.
These are some crazy stats.
16 of 21. Good. Had 7 sacks. For Jalen Hurts.
7 sacks.
So it was either like, hey, they got the ball in the right spot, so Jalen Hurts looks good, he's completing the ball, or they're taking up a sack. And that's just – and again, training camp, you try to not – like, when I say sack, it means like, oh, this was obviously a sack. Like a rusher runs past them, and then they throw the ball afterwards, or they call the play dead. Not like, ooh, I think that might have been a sack type stuff. Like, I'd make sure – to not try and be a decider of what's a sack and what's not. It has to be clear, and it was unbelievable. Now it got better as it went. Like 4 out of the first 11 plays were sacks, and then so we're talking about 28 plays. So that's 3 out of the next 17 were sacks. So it did get better as the practice went along. But it just feels like that offensive line was really struggling against it, right? Mekhi Becton, I think, has been struggling at right guard as well, too, who's been with that starting group, and again, just some guys, Wise, putting Lane Johnson on his ass. Lane Johnson's, the best right, one of if not the best right tackle in the game. That shouldn't happen. So that was an issue last year, was picking up the blitz, calling out the blitz, right? That's why
it's been an issue throughout Hurts' his whole career.
That's why Brian Johnson's got fired. The story came out like a week or two ago about Jalen Hurts calling Wink Martindale, who loves to call the blitz, runs a bunch of blitzes, and how they are attacking him. And so coming out of last year, I'm like, I think the Eagles are going to bounce back. I don't blame last year on Jalen Hurts, and I still don't blame last year on Jalen Hurts, or at least the majority of it. I think Vic Fangio, a defensive coordinator, makes a huge difference for them, and getting rid of Brian Johnson. But we had Nate Tice on the show about a month ago, and he's like, I don't know if this is a good mixture with him and Kellen Moore, and I think Jalen Hurts' struggles may continue. I leave this practice worrying for the Eagles about how they're going to not just block one-on-one, but pick up protection, and I think teams might just come after them. Like teams that don't blitz a lot when they play the Eagles are going to send it. Now, their counterpunch to that is that they got freaking A.J. Brown. They've got Devontae Smith. They've got Dallas Goedert. They're going to be able to run the ball well with that offensive line and Saquon Barkley. So I don't leave this practice saying, oh, the Eagles are screwed offensively, but I do worry about them against the better teams when they can't just out-talent everybody in front of them.
They do have some weird personnel issues, though.
So they don't really have a slot receiver.
Who's the backup tight end?
CJ Uzoma seems to be the backup tight end, but they've been putting Johnny Wilson, the 6'7" wide receiver or 6'6" wide receiver out of FSU, getting some tight end reps, but also lining about wide. I thought Paris Campbell would actually be a nice little piece for them, because he's had success with the Colts in the slot. Obviously struggled last year with the Giants. I thought he was a nice piece for them, but it seems Britton Covey is the slot over Paris Campbell. I don't think Campbell got any of the first team snaps.
He did not.
And again, maybe that hasn't been how all of the other Eagles practices went, but the one we were at, that's how it went.
Right.
And it seems that A.J. Brown, king of the explosive play, they're really kind of trying to make him much more involved in the quick game, right? Like A.J. Brown, he had 7 catches in team drill. So 7 of Jalen Hurts' 16 completions were to A.J. Brown. When they did 7-on-7, they had 6 7-on-7 plays. The first 5 plays were to A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
And he caught 4 of them, but they were low average depth of targets. Now, Brown had a nice catch on the sideline. Great hole shot throw for Jalen Hurts between the safety and the corner that was playing the middle level of the field. So A.J. Brown looked awesome, but it also seemed like a lower average depth of target. But there was also, 16-21, got the ball to A.J. Brown a ton. Saquon Barkley had a rail route touchdown where the Patriots probably shouldn't be putting Matthew Judon one-on-one with Saquon Barkley.
And that's the only worry about the Patriots blitzing so much is if you're going to disguise coverages and if you're going to disguise looks and you're going to bring a safety to drop out an edge rusher, then you don't want Matthew Judon in that situation.
Yeah, so that was a great ball, great catch by from Jalen Hurts to Saquon. A nice over route for Devontae Smith on a play that probably would have been a touchdown or down to the 5-yard line. So they're still going to have that explosive element, and it seems like they're trying to get the ball out a lot quicker with A.J. Brown. But as good as all that is, you get sacked 7 out of 28 times that you drop back.
Yeah.
And you're giving up the most sacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
Which again, this is a training camp practice. I don't expect that to translate exactly to the NFL, to the season, but it has to be a worry for them.
Oh yeah, and if NFL teams are willing to adapt to, I think a lot of NFL teams are. Even if
they're going to get the house sent at them to start the season, and it's going to be up to them to answer the call.
Even if you're playing a team that maybe doesn't like to blitz a ton. Well, if you're playing the Philadelphia Eagles, maybe you should change it that week. Maybe you should, increase your blitz rate by a ton. And hey, there may be some NFL teams that are going to be like, we're going to win and we're going to play defense by the way that we play defense, and we're not going to bring the blitz. And that's where I think the Eagles are going to have a lot of success. But I still am wondering, Bobby. They have Devontae Smith, they have Dallas Goedert, they have A.J. Brown, which I think most NFL teams would kill to have even just one of those guys on their team, right? But I'm still leaving this practice wondering, what is their offensive... And Saquon Barkley is part of that too. What is their offensive identity going to be? Because it feels backwards. It feels like Devontae Smith should almost be that guy that has a little bit of a lower average depth of target.
Which that has been what they've been the last 2 years.
It feels like A.J. Brown should be the stretch the field kind of guy. Now, A.J. Brown's your number 1 wide receiver. He's your alpha. He's going to get targeted short, intermediate, deep. But there should be a little bit more of a mix. Dallas Goedert, where does he... I feel like there's no identity for an Eagles offense that has talent up and down at every single position.
Yeah, and again, we've only been at one practice, but if you saw this practice, what's our identity? Be slants and hitches to A.J. Brown.
If you saw this practice, it would mirror exactly what has kind of went wrong with the Eagles since the second half collapse of the season. It's kind of mirrored the similar issues that they have faced.
Yeah, but again, it's just, and it's not just like, Jay. Again, it's hard to say watching a practice, like why are the breakdowns happening up front? I don't. The offensive line at the end of the day is responsible for doing that.
They're not preparing for the Patriots blitz packages either. They're trying to run their offense.
That's fair too, but it would be less worrisome if they didn't. That wasn't their. That's what broke down for them offensively. Is they just last year where I kept on holding on. Like the Eagles got to turn it around, right? Mm-hmm. They're too talented, right? They're going to have to make adjustments, and it was mind-numbing. It's like why is this team every week? You're thinking, okay, this is the week they figure out their protections and how to handle the blitz, and it just never came. It never came. And they were facing blitz-heavy teams like the New York Giants and the Bucs in their last 2 games of the year, and they had no plan for it.
Demolished.
So if it wasn't for how it happened last year, okay, it is one practice. You're not game planning for the Patriots blitzes, but I think that's the worry is that they're going to score a lot of points. They're going to get a lot of yards, but when it comes down to nut cutting time. How will they do? Devontae Smith had 3 catches, 1 downfield. I mean, it was really. I'll be interested to see what the plan is for Johnny Wilson because I know that's
some plan.
Yeah, that's like a name out there, in the draft community. But I was like, I don't think that he was ever going to be, successful in the NFL. But he was getting a lot of. He got more snaps than their slot wide receiver Britton Covey got. They're running a lot of 12 personnel with C.J. Uzomah and Dallas Goedert, and I think even you would consider that Johnny Wilson's somewhat of a tight end. So I don't know. They also had some packages for Will Shipley, the running back out of Clemson, as a receiver. So I think you'll see a little bit of him this year.
2 running back sets.
And my other offensive note, because I was focusing on the second team, Pickett looks like a good backup for them. E.J. Jenkins, who I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
It's his 6'6" tight end. It's his second year. Last year, was with the Jets, Eagles, and the Raiders on the practice squad. I kind of like him on the second team. He moves around well. He has some good blocking snaps. So maybe that's a name that can, fight for a roster spot on that team. Justin, you were focusing on their defense. So I don't really have much on their defense outside of a Jeremiah Trotter interception, who, by the way, we were talking about. I know there's some, a lot of people don't think Trotter has what it takes to be an NFL linebacker. I just think the guy's a baller, and I think he's going to figure out at some level. But what
was the first team that Jeremiah Trotter had that interception on?
Yeah. So what do you think of what was your thoughts of their defense? I know it was far away and it's hard to see exactly what was going on, but what were your thoughts on the defense?
Yeah. So the downside of the Patriots running a very, very conservative offense is I don't have a ton of notes on the secondary. Because they were on the far field. But Darius Slay had a nice pass breakup. Cooper DeJean was out there for the first time in pads. Again, I couldn't really see where everybody was kind of lining up. Not going to lie, I was locked into the Patriots offense a little bit more today. Nolan Smith had some really nice flash plays, both in 1v1 and would have had at least 1 sack during team drills today. With the second team, that Pat's second team offensive line was not good, and Nolan Smith was taking advantage of that. I believe Bryce Huff had a sack or 2 during first team periods as well. He is going to be a lot of fun. He's going to be good. Jordan Davis is a big dude, but he doesn't look too big, which I guess is good for those Philadelphia Eagles. So I don't have a ton of notes on the Eagles defense, but that pass rush is going to be good, man.
Yeah, that pass rush was getting after. I tried to peek over there as much. Again, it's on the far field, so you don't get a great view of it.
And they're also the Pats were running the ball a lot, and they were checking it down. And I see a check down. It's like, all right, great. The secondary. If you're wondering about the Eagles secondary, because that was a huge, it's a huge question kind of heading into this year, and who is where and what are they going to be doing. The secondary wasn't tested a lot, so really there's not a lot of notes.
Well, and part of that is the way Vic Fangio runs his defense. Now, it'd be more interesting to see the Eagles defense go against a non-Patriots offense, like you said, because their pass rush is just able to get home consistently. Mm-hmm. And the quarterbacks, Brissett and May, were completing passes, but like you said, it was a lot of low average depth of target stuff. Yeah. So Justin, so that was it from Patriots Eagles joint practice. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope we get to go to all of the joint practices next year. Just travel around. Plus, we want to do a Talking Giants in all 50 states. That's something we just decided yesterday, so that'll help. Shout out South Dakota, Dallas Goedert. All right. What else do we have around the NFL?
Yeah, we have some NFL news that we want that we want to touch on. I think most notably,
Hassan Reddick.
Let's start with this. Yeah, let's start with Hassan Reddick. He's requesting a trade from the New York Jets that the Jets will not grant him, nor should they. This is a disastrous situation that I do think will eventually work itself out. But until it does, what an embarrassment for the New York Jets that just, if there's one team that can't afford distractions like this or that just doesn't need them, it is the New York Jets, and this is as Jetsy as it getsy.
I like that line.
Shout out John Boy Media. It's as Metsy as it getsy.
Yeah, how did the Jets not have an idea of? And I know Hassan Reddick in his opening press conference said, I'm going to be here, I'm going to do this, and that all didn't come to.
Yeah, but what else?
Hasn't come to fruition. But I don't understand how they weren't close at. Like you just can't make this type of trade if you think that this could happen. Because now they need Reddick because they decided to let Huff go to the Eagles because they traded John Franklin Myers for basically nothing to the Denver Broncos. So now, and I understand that the JFM trade supposedly may have given Reddick a little more leverage in this, but do you think his asking price went up by $3 million per year because they traded John Franklin Myers?
No.
So the Eagles have the leverage of you're just going to continue to lose money. So I do, and I don't think the Jets are going to meet those contract demands. So I think Reddick eventually gets there. But this just feels like, why did you do this move without knowing how this would all go out and having an idea and talking to Reddick and figuring out a plan on this? This is what I don't understand. That's what I don't understand is how did it get to this point?
I mean, don't we see this in every sport, right? Where basketball, there's a trade, and then there's an immediate extension. You see it all the time in football, where there's a trade and then an immediate extension.
That happens. Yeah, that's
all of sports.
That's usually what happens when you make a trade like this, or there's an understanding that the guy's going to play out this year on their contract, and it's more like a 1-year rental type of thing.
So unless it comes out, which why wouldn't it come out at this point, right? Unless it comes out that Hassan Reddick told the Jets that he was willing to play on this 1 year, which I don't think is the case, then it's just, we're not breaking any news here. We're not breaking any analysis barriers by saying this, but I think it's just organizational malpractice to not have this in order and in line. And probably simply the line that was said in the front office, with Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh and staff, in the front office was just like, oh yeah, well, we'll work it out. It'll get worked out. We'll find a way to work it out. It hasn't.
Yeah. And it's,
and now you're looking at Bobby. We're in August 13th. His ramp up period. What is that going to look like? Is he going to be able to play over 50% of the snaps against the 49ers week 1? And if he does, is he going to look like shit? Because bet you he's training. Bet you he's trying to keep his body in shape, Bobby. But his ramp up period is going to be quite an interesting ramp up period. And I know he's older, I know he's a vet, but still, the Jets not only need Hassan Reddick to be there, they also need Hassan Reddick to be good and be Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, because, Hassan Reddick is a big upgrade over Huff and obviously JFM. You can argue about those two guys together, is it? But I think it is. I'm not worried about the ramp-up thing, right? I looked up Khalil Mack. He had a 27-day holdout, and he was ready to go. Now, Reddick's not a Khalil Mack, and it's not everything's apple to apple. So I don't stress about that, but I just the Jets aren't going to trade him.
No,
who's going to trade for him and give him the contract that he supposedly wants of close to $25 million per year? That's not going to happen. So the Jets, no team's going to want to trade anything significant for him. The Jets need him, so they're not going to trade him.
No.
It's just, like you said, it's a mess. And this is the Jets. With the Jets, this organization, it just feels like messes happen to them.
Yeah, of course.
It's not just it's not coincidence.
Of course this happened to the Jets.
Yeah, but this was avoidable, right? They could have re-signed Huff and kept John Franklin Myers, and you can argue which is better, but you're not in this situation if that happens on a team that needs to gel, that is in a very short window to win, by the way, with Aaron Rodgers. It's just they create these types of situations. Mm-hmm. All this noise, all this training camp stuff, this was created by the Jets by making this trade without having a deal set up with Hassan Reddick.
Yeah. They created the Zach Wilson situation last year. It's just not. It's not great. It won't surprise me at year's end. Hey, we talked about Bryce Huff with the Eagles. But Bryce Huff and Hassan, I think Bryce Huff's advanced metrics were better than Reddick's last year, like win rate and all that kind of stuff. And I know a lot of the analytics people are like, Jets. Oh, look at how Hassan Reddick is Hassan Reddick. But at this rate,
he's been a full-time player.
Yeah. No, Bryce Huff got 50% of the snaps last year with the Jets. So let's see him actually be a full-time starter before we start anointing him as the league's one of the league's best pass rushers here. But it will not surprise me at year's end if Bryce Huff is going to get those opportunities with the Eagles. And I do believe in the whole ramp up. I believe in it because even like Khalil Mack did it. What was that? 2018.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack. It's been a while since Khalil Mack has been like early days. Khalil Mack, what he was early on. He had the resurgence year last year, obviously. But it wouldn't surprise me at year's end if Bryce Huff is a much more valuable and productive pass rusher than Hassan Reddick. And is it going to be because Hassan Reddick missed training camp? Maybe, maybe not. But it'll be just like the Jets for that. That's how it's going to play out.
Right. The only other I made a no Brandon Ayuk talk rule for this show until something happens because I'm tired of the fucking speculation.
Yeah. So no Brandon Ayuk talk.
JJ McCarthy torn meniscus. They don't need. So he's going to have surgery. They don't know if it's. They just need to trim it up or it's like a full tear. I don't know exactly what that stuff means, but I read it. I don't. So like he could play this season, or it could be out for the year. So I don't know exactly.
Yeah, so what's the thought? Are we a short term, medium term, or long term? Long term being we're looking at the season. Short term being like we'll see within the first 4 weeks, and then medium being like maybe out till like November. What do we know the sense of that?
I mean, he tweeted out, "I'll be back in no time," but you don't want to put too much into that. Adam Schefter says undergo knee surgery that will determine how much time he will be sidelined.
So I guess that they need to get in and look at
it. They need to know it's you can either just trim it up or it's a full tear of the meniscus.
Yeah. We're a doctor's show. We love doctors.
Yeah, this is. I also hate the Twitter doctors who tell you. It's like you're not there. And
I want to fight them all the time.
Speaking of Jets, remember they said Zach Wilson tore his ACL and he didn't?
Dr. Jesse Morse. I'll say it. I can't go.
No, he wasn't even that one. That was David Chow, the former Chargers doctor who got sued a bunch of times.
He was in that too. I don't like any of them. Sorry. Like if you're a nice person.
They were making diagnoses on Tyron. Like they make diagnoses on practice injuries where there's no video of it.
Yeah, and they're not there.
Yeah, there's no video of it and they're not there. It drives me nuts. I don't care if they're right, like 95% of the time. I think it's like,
which they're not, by the way.
I think it's unnecessary. It's just so irresponsible to do that.
If you're don't give Twitter doctors the engagement. If we stop giving them the engagement, they will stop tweeting out their diagnosis without seeing, touching, or having any affiliation with any injury.
So I play this clip from the Pat McAfee show of Adam Schefter talking about it.
Yes. Or it's 2 minutes and 44 seconds. I don't know if I want to sit here and listen.
See if we get the beginning of it.
Out of Minnesota, it was broken at 12:27 Eastern Time via Adam Schefter's Twitter account. J.J. McCarthy will be undergoing knee surgery. Further information released would tell us that be on a meniscus. Is it a full tear? Is it a partial tear? Joining us now, senior NFL insider for ESPN, Adam Schefter. Hey, Schefter. Hate to hear this,
gentlemen. What is going on today?
Hate to hear this about a Michigan man. Obviously, we all saw the way he has handled himself as a Minnesota Viking. We saw his preseason debut. We saw glimmers of hope, and we know Sam Darnold's there, so we don't know what the entire schedule is going to be for him to play at the beginning of the season anyways. But this comes after he says he has soreness, and what are we looking at down the road now, Shefty?
Well, essentially, Pat, they went in, they did an MRI on Monday night, and they found the torn meniscus. And now the question is whether he will need just a trimming of that meniscus or whether he will need a complete repair.
All right, so they don't know yet.
Two very different timelines for each surgery, depending on what doctors believe is the best option. So we don't.
The timeline is dependent on the surgery.
Whether he's going to be out.
What are the two options for the timeline?
Or potentially a whole lot longer.
Okay.
So weeks or the whole year.
So we're missing the first four. I'm saying we're missing the first 4 weeks.
Maybe clean that up a little bit, Mikey. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're definitely missing the first 4 weeks, and J.J. McCarthy will not be starting the season.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. So Sam Darnold hides.
Sam Darnold was going to be the starter anyways, but it just sucks because McCarthy, the best. So let's say McCarthy wasn't going to play this year and he was going to be the backup the whole year, which I don't know if we all thought that, but let's just say that that's what it was. Preseason and training camp snaps are the best snaps that he would have gotten all year because once you get in season, you're the scout team quarterback. You're just not getting the same preparation that you get.
Yeah, you're also preparing for the team. You're not preparing yourself to be better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or to get better.
Yeah, especially when you're a backup. So that obviously sucks for Jid. All right, any other news? I feel like we can get out of here. We're at 45 minutes on this show.
I want to talk about this a little too because we already recorded the Vikings TPP, correct?
We already recorded it.
So now we know. Now we know that Sam Darnold is going to be the starter for the foreseeable future. And I saw a clip of Mina Kimes, Nate Tice, who, flirt with the whole I don't know, kind of like the idea of Sam Darnold.
How long are we going to do this with Sam Darnold?
But then Charles McDonald was on there too. And he was like, I don't know, I cover the Jets and you can make a highlight. Basically what he said is you can make a highlight of 10 Sam Darnold plays and you could put him up there with guys like Josh Allen. But then you can have 5 really good moments but then 12 hangovers. But it's like, well, the ratio of good to bad is just not good.
Yeah, and everyone brings up, well, he's only 27 years old. Okay, well, he's 7 years old in NFL life. And I just can't keep dealing with Sam Darnold. Like you said, the ratio of the good to bad has never been good.
Right.
And I'm not going to let the fact that Geno Smith is an outlier make me give hope in every single quarterback that has sucked for 7 years of his career.
But this is such an awesome situation, though. Like, this is such an awesome...
Here's the thing. He will, like, the Vikings offense will make any quarterback look better than better than what they are. Any quarterback. If they had Patrick Mahomes, it would make Patrick Mahomes look better than what he is. Josh Allen, right? It's a great offense for a quarterback to be in. So I'm not going to let a couple or 2-3 games in a row of good Sam Darnold make me say, oh, Sam Darnold's finally good, because it always comes back down to earth.
All right.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. There's a lot of people that have hope.
If you're a Vikings fan, you can have hope, right? If you are a Vikings fan, you can have hope because Sam Darnold, I think, can run that offense fine. I think they can score points. I think they can win games.
Yeah.
But if you're like if you're a Sam Darnold truther, you need to give up of the hope.
Yeah.
But if you're a Vikings fan, have hope because Sam Darnold can look good in that offense.
And there's
look solid in that offense.
There's so much that they can do outside of needing Sam Darnold to be very good. That's the dangerous thing, is that they have the running game. They have the tackles, and they need the interior to be just not disastrous, right? They have Justin Jefferson. They have TJ Hockenson. They have Aaron Jones as a runner and a pass catcher. So there's so much that they can do outside of needing the quarterback to be like good and like play hero ball. Like, they don't need Sam Darnold to be extravagant, to be a good offense, and that's the scary thing.
So for the Vikings, it's a fine player to have in there in this while you wait for JJ McCarthy to become the starter. But for the Sam Darnold truthers, like, you just have to stop.
Yeah.
All right, that's an episode. We'll be back with TPPs.
Yeah.
Unless there's some major breaking news, we won't have any regular episodes for the rest of the week. We'll see you when we see you. Is this still no? Is it?
Is this what?
Is this our last Football Today in person?
Possibly.
It you know what? It is, because
You're going home next week.
I leave Monday morning, so we'll probably do it when I'm back in Florida. All right, we'll see you guys. We appreciate you. See you on the next one.